Hey guys, so today I'm going to try and show you guys how to build how to adapt, I should say, a vape pen atomizer into a mini smoke machine. Can you see that? Alright, I want to give props to Wayne's workshop. I'll link his channel in the description below. He has some really great videos. I used a lot of his information on how to put this whole thing together. I'm gonna have to make some modifications later on. I'll explain that as I go. I'm gonna show you guys what I've done so far. So the things that you'll need for this project: it's a vape pen atomizer, a air pump, a 9-volt battery, a 9-volt battery connector, solder, a soldering iron, some electrical tape, some wires, some heat shrink tubing, an X-Acto knife or some kind of sharp blade, a match or some kind of lighter, and a wire stripper or a pair of scissors, some silicone tubing. Fog juice. And may come in handy, a pair of forceps. Preferably 2 hands and 10 fingers. So the first thing we need to do is solder the wires to the vape pen. Because we took the battery out, we're going to set it up to be able to hook to our new 9-volt battery, where we have to wire a positive lead to the interior. There's a small hole on the inside of the atomizer. We're going to solder the positive to that and the ground to this exterior metal rim. Now, just as a point really quick, there's a couple different kinds of atomizers. When you're looking for one, you'll need one that actually has a hole that runs all the way through from the front to the back. That way because we're going to be pushing air through it from the back end, so you need the hole to go all the way through. So, first thing we're going to do is take a piece of the silicone tubing, and you're going to puncture a small hole in just one of the walls. And this will let us take our positive wire and thread it through from the exterior of the tube all the way to the front. And strip our wire. I don't have a wire stripper handy, so I'm using a pair of scissors. Strip our wire. So now we've got a stripped wire threaded through small silicone tubing. Next, we are going to solder that wire to the interior ring in the vape pen. So there's a small ring, small circle in the very center. We're going to solder that to one of those walls, preferably on the inside. So you want to stick the wiring literally into the hole and solder it down. Next, we're going to take a negative wire and we are going to ground to the exterior of the trim. Now for this, simply because the vape pen outer ring is really smooth, I scuff it up with a little bit of sandpaper helps the solder stick marginally better. It can be difficult to get the solder to really bond to it, but this helps a little bit. All right. Then strip our wire. And solder it to the exterior ring. So now we've got negative wire ground to the exterior ring, positive wire running to the interior loop and threaded through plastic silicone tubing. We're going to set that aside for a minute. We'll come back later and make that all airtight and tape it all up. We're going to work on the air pump next. So the air pump has two leads to the exterior. We're going to put a positive and negative run to them. So strip our wire. Let's do the positive first. Thread through. And solder down. Positive, solder down, and we're going to do the same with the negative. And then take some heat shrink tubing, slide it all the way down just to keep those contacts nice and insulated. All right, so we got positive and negative leads running to our air pump. Next, 9-volt battery connector with exposed positive and negative. We're going to take the negatives, we're going to ground all of the wires together, all three, from the battery, 9-volt battery connector to the air pump and to the atomizer. Just stripping all the wires. All right, so I've stripped all the wiring to be able to attach the grounds, but before I do that, I'm actually going to tape up silicone tubing on the atomizer. So, pull the tubing, the thin tube, as far down as I can get it, and try and have it match up as closely as I possibly can to the interior center circle. To the exterior, I am going to take a thicker set of tubing and similarly punch a hole. And thread my wiring up through it. I should have done this before and forgot, so we're gonna try and get this to work. And we'll just have to tape that up to make it airtight. There we go. All right. Slide the thicker tubing over the thinner tube. You can see the positive lead goes through both the thicker and the thinner silicone tubing, which I then pull all the way down. So now we've got an interior tube as close to the center hole of the atomizer as we possibly can on the inside, and an exterior tube that is helping to seal around it. The positive wire is threaded through both the interior and exterior tube, and the negative wire is soldered to, it's just grounded to the metal ring. So now I'm going to, using electrical tape, tape that down. And tape down. Now we're going to solder the ground leads from our atomizer to our air pump. And then you'll do the same, the negative lead, ground wire from our 9-volt battery connector. Now, you take the positive of the atomizer, connect it to the positive of the air pump. Solder those together. Finally, we're going to seal up the hole, or the gap, the space between our two pieces of silicone tubing. You can see here we've got the thin and the thick piece. We're going to seal that hole up. You can use anything, probably easier to use anything but electrical tape, but I have that readily at hand, so I'm just going to use that real quick.
Just to try and seal that hole.
So you've got vapor atomizer tubing wired to a air pump and 9-volt battery connector. Connect the air pump to the silicone tubing. Just stick the tube over the pump. Plug in a 9-volt battery. Well, actually, before we plug in the 9-volt battery, almost forgot, you have to fill the atomizer with fog juice. So you just screw the top off, pour fog juice on the inside. Screw it shut. And then put on the battery. And now, hopefully, when you turn it all on, you should get the air pump blowing, the vaporizer, the atomizer making smoke, and all. And when you power it, okay, well, it looks like we made a mistake. I don't know how well you'll be able to tell that over camera, but you can hear only the air pump is getting power. The atomizer is not getting any power at all. Which means, most likely, one of those, not most likely, definitely, one of those two leads came undone. My guess would be the positive lead on the inside, threaded through the silicone tubing. Because you'll notice these air pumps, when you first give them power, they jerk. I think that jerking, if you don't have the atomizer really solidly soldered down, that jerking can make one of the wires come undone. If you do it right, wire everything up correctly, then when you put power, it should sound more like that, and you should see some smoke. You can see that. You can hear a significant sound difference. That's much deeper because the vape pen and the atomizer and the air pump are getting power versus this one. Much higher pitch, just the air pump. So in order to fix that, I would have to take this tape off, pull the silicone tubing out, and resolder that positive lead to the interior, do a better soldering job this time, clearly, and then put it all back together. So if you do it right, you should be able to get some smoke on the cheap. Now, I will need to probably get a better air pump. These are very cheap air pumps that I'm using. Probably gonna have to get a more powerful one. This is kind of a prototype for what I'm thinking to do. For my specific purposes, what I want to do with these is have 4 different nozzles connected to each one of the back flap, or 4 of the 6 back flaps in the back that move. I'm probably going to connect an LED to the tip, so when the smoke comes out, the LED turns on, it looks like fire and smoke and steam. In order to do that though, I'll need a more powerful air pump. So I'm going to be on the hunt for a more powerful air pump, switch it out, and if I can get one strong enough, I might not even need to remake this 4 times. Might be able to just have one air pump that ports to 4 different atomizers set up. Another thing you can do as well is using the tubing, you can connect it to the front end of the atomizer and blow the air all the way through the tubing and put this tubing anywhere you want underneath the suit. So, you know, if I wanted, let's say, to have smoke coming out of the forearms or something like that, if I wanted a blast out of my hand, I don't want smoke coming out, it would probably not be possible for me to fit all of this easily. I can put this somewhere more accessible, like in the back, and then just run tubes under the suit to the appropriate spot when smoke comes out. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, now I'm going to go and try and see if I can't recreate this a couple more times with a more powerful air pump, capable of pushing a little bit more fog, more smoke, and yeah. Thanks for watching as always, guys. Continue checking back, subscribe, and leave a like if you like it. Thanks.